Are you trying to get Tyler back with your clumsy excuses? If you really want to be with him that much, I don't mind if you come. I'll hire you and work you hard, so if you're okay with being a slave, I'll give you the new address. How much is this woman misunderstanding and getting carried away by herself? There is no point in arguing anymore, so I might as well hint at the truth soon. Then it's okay to divorce your unemployed husband. I'm busy with work, so you take care of him. You don't even know what happened to Tyler's company, you ignorant fool. Still putting on a brave front, you loser. Rachel is still misunderstanding, but she will eventually realize the wrong choice she has made. Anyway, I decided to divorce Tyler, who kept his unemployment a secret from me and even cheated. However, it looks disadvantageous for me to fight with Tyler and the others alone. So, I decided to ask for help from someone I can rely on, and I made a phone call. My name is Denise Baker, a 43-year-old housewife. Before I got married, I worked for 15 years as a sales clerk in a men's clothing store. The vice president of the wholesale company that did business with the store is now my husband, Tyler. Initially, I thought he was a man of few words even when we met at work, but gradually we got to know each other better, and he started inviting me to a cafe. It seems he secretly liked me. Tyler is the same age as me, and his father is the president of the wholesale company. He is supposed to take over his father's company and become the president someday. Then one day, after we had met several times, Tyler said, if it's okay with you, would you consider dating me with marriage in mind? When Tyler asked me that, I felt overjoyed. However, Tyler's father was strongly opposed. I lost my mother when I was young, and the father who raised me had already passed away. Therefore, they said my family background was not suitable. They insisted that someone like me could not become the wife of the next president. But Tyler responded to that argument by saying, "Even you, Dad, divorced Mom, and because of that, she struggled and passed away in her 60s. So, you have no right to criticize my choice of a marriage partner." After that, Tyler's father fell silent and stopped opposing our marriage. I was shocked when I first heard this fact. I see, that's why his surname is different from his father's. Afterward, I learned from Tyler that after his parents divorced, he and his mother supported each other and lived through many hardships. That's why he says he wants to make his spouse happy. Hearing this, I thought, this man will cherish me for the rest of my life. So, I decided to follow him. Then, at the age of 37, I got married. I dreamed of a sweet married life with Tyler and felt happier than anyone else. But reality did not go so smoothly. At Tyler's request, I quit my job to focus on the household after we got married. I woke up early in the morning and prepared balanced meals. After sending Tyler off, I did all the housework perfectly, from laundry to cleaning. I thought that if I worked hard, he would surely be pleased. While thinking this, I spent fulfilling days. However, although Tyler was kind and cheerful at the beginning of our marriage, his words became fewer as 1 year. 2 years passed. By the 3rd year, he started to act as if it was natural for a wife to do the housework and began to order me around as if he was pointing with his chin. "Hey, get the newspaper, hey. There's still dust on top of the dresser. Are you cleaning properly?" That was just the beginning. He asked me to rearrange the room, and normally, such heavy furniture that requires a man's help was all left to me to move. For your information, I am 5 feet tall and not particularly strong. Tyler, who is over 7 inches taller and has a solid build, just thinks about the layout of the room. I couldn't stand it anymore and finally complained. "Hey. Don't make a small woman like me carry such heavy things. Isn't it a man's job to do the heavy lifting?" But no matter what I say, Tyler just pouts and retorts. "What are you talking about? I'm the next president. It's ridiculous to make me do such heavy labor. Carrying heavy things is your duty as the caretaker." So, he calls me a caretaker. More like I'm being treated like a slave. Why has Tyler become such a husband in our 3rd year of marriage? I wondered. Could it be that he's frustrated because we haven't had children yet? I myself dream of a life with children. With that thought, I went to the gynecologist for a checkup. Ideally, I would like Tyler to cooperate, but I'm not in a position to speak out now. For now, it turns out there is nothing particularly wrong with me, so I have been actively trying to conceive. But no matter how long it goes on, there are no signs of pregnancy. I thought it might be a good idea to discuss this with Tyler, so I bravely brought up the topic of trying to conceive. However, the words that came back from Tyler were unbelievable. Huh? Trying to conceive? You still intend to have children at your age? What? It's not uncommon these days for women over 40 to have children. Tyler laughed out loud in response to my reply. I've never heard such a thing. Just look around. The mothers with small children are mostly in their late 20s or mid-30s. Hey, where did you get that information? It's not just a scene from a drama, is it? Indeed, Tyler has no children and no small children in his relatives. Therefore, he wouldn't have information about mothers with small children today. If he has seen any, it's merely because the mothers he happened to notice were young. Tyler talks as if this limited information from 2 or 3 people were common knowledge. Why is he so resistant to the topic of trying to conceive? Concerned, I asked him again. Well, aside from that, don't you want children, Tyler? Huh? Children. I'm not really interested. I was speechless at his words. Married, yet he doesn't want children. I couldn't believe Tyler's attitude and asked him again. Why? Shouldn't we have children if we're married? Look, even your father would be happy if he had a successor. I said this, respecting Tyler's position, but his reaction was lukewarm. Tyler was silent for a while, but then slowly spoke. A successor. I actually never wanted to take over my father's company after he and my mother split up. I only got married because I was worried about what others would think. I didn't want to be seen as unsuitable for marriage because I am a son of divorced parents. What? So, you're saying you married me just to maintain appearances because you care about what others think? That's terrible. Knowing his true feelings, I was devastated. Then, Tyler suddenly raised his voice. Shut up. What do you know? He yelled at me as if he was taking his frustration out on me and then left the room. What does he expect me to understand in this situation? Since then, Tyler, perhaps upset, has started buying his own food and has stopped giving me any money for living expenses. I didn't know what to do, so I sought advice from my dependable aunt. This aunt, my mother's sister, has cherished me since I was little. My aunt, focused on her career, is still working vigorously at 68 without ever having married. When I discussed my troubles with her, she listened sympathetically. Oh my, that's tough. If Tyler doesn't want children, why don't you try working, Denise? It's better than staying at home, it'll take your mind off things. Perhaps my aunt was right. I decided to take this opportunity to work at the clothing manufacturer company that my aunt runs. When I told Tyler, he responded with an indifferent expression. At any rate, a company run by a 60-plus-year-old aunt is probably small, and you'll just be a part-time worker there. Well, if it's just enough to earn your keep, that's probably just right. Tyler's dismissive reaction even towards my successful aunt upset me a bit, but I didn't say anything in response. After all, I should just follow my aunt's example and focus on my work from now on. One day, after I had started working for a while, I was looking at the news on my smartphone during a break and came across some shocking information. It turns out, Tyler's company had gone bankrupt. I thought about asking Tyler when I got home, but since I started working, he has stopped talking to me altogether, so there was no opportunity to bring it up. Tyler hadn't mentioned anything about his company either. It seems there's nothing I can do but let it be. Since he wasn't contributing to the living expenses anyway, it doesn't really affect me. Tyler hasn't said anything about his company, but he has started eating the meals I prepare at home. He must be struggling with food expenses now that he has no income. This situation continued for about 2 or 3 years when one day, I received a call on my smartphone. Looking at the screen, I saw a number I didn't recognize. Thinking it might be someone from work, I answered the call. "Ah, Denise, it's been a while. Do you know who this is?" Suddenly, I heard a cheerful woman's voice, and after thinking about it, it sounded somewhat familiar. Could it be Rachel? Bingo. You got it. How have you been, Denise? You haven't changed your mobile number since before you got married? I'm glad I could reach you. The caller was Rachel, my best friend since high school. In high school, she was very serious, but after I went to university and Rachel went to community college, she somehow became more sophisticated earlier than me. Rachel's lifestyle became flashy, and she gradually drifted away from me. However, we remained friends who occasionally kept in touch until I got married. The sudden contact made me feel uneasy. It's been a while. You seem well, Rachel. What's up today? Then, as if trying to gauge the situation, Rachel asked. Actually, I'll be near your house for work in the next 2 or 3 days. I was wondering if I could stop by your place. I hesitated for a moment. Now that Tyler's company had gone bankrupt, I wasn't sure if he would be home. Just then, Tyler happened to pass by in the background. Looking back, Tyler started to speak. Is a guest coming? I don't mind. Rachel seemed to hear his voice over the phone and suddenly got excited. Is that your husband? The one who's supposed to be the next president. It's okay for me to visit then? I'm looking forward to it. I've always been curious about what the home of a future president and his wife would be like. It was hard to refuse when she was so enthusiastic. I got swept up in Rachel's pace and agreed for her to visit our home the day after tomorrow in the afternoon. On the day of the visit, Rachel arrived at our house with a very curious look. Surprisingly, Tyler, who I thought would be out, was also home. Moreover, although he was usually unsmiling with just the two of us, today he greeted her with a smile at the entrance. Hello, you're Rachel, right? I've met you once before you got married. You brought a gift because you couldn't attend the wedding. Oh my, Tyler. You remember me? I'm so pleased. The two of them suddenly started chatting amiably, making me feel left out. However, after a little while, Tyler quickly returned to the bedroom. I showed Rachel into the living room and made some coffee. Meanwhile, Rachel, sitting on the living room sofa, looked around the house as if she was scouting it out. You really have a nice home. The furniture must be expensive, right? No, not really. I replied modestly because, in reality, most of the household items here were bought by me. Since Tyler didn't have many possessions to begin with when we got married, I gradually acquired these over the 3 years since I started working. Regardless, Rachel was unconcerned and kept throwing one question after another, mostly about the relationship between my husband and me. Considering the situation, I found it difficult to respond and could only evade the questions vaguely. After about 3 hours of questioning, Rachel said goodbye to Tyler and left our house. It felt like the calm after a storm. However, that night, Tyler suddenly said he was going out and left the house. He hasn't returned even after a week. I thought about it while at work. If he doesn't come back today, maybe I should call him? We had been distant, so I had let it be until now, but I'm really worried. Thinking this, I hurried home after work. Then, I felt that the house was more spacious than usual. Upon closer inspection, many pieces of furniture were gone. I thought maybe a burglar had entered when I received a call from Rachel. Hello? Are you worried because your husband left? Actually, he has been with me this whole week. What? What does that mean? I remembered how Rachel had strangely wanted to know about Tyler and me. Could it be? I asked. You're not living together, are you? That, of course, yes. I had Tyler's used furniture moved to my new place today. What? That furniture is all mine. Please return it. and tell me where you are right now. I was worried about Tyler, but I was more upset that my things were taken without my permission. What are you talking about? You were being supported, so there's no way you could afford all that by yourself, right? Really bluffing. Rachel said mockingly. She seems to know nothing. That it was actually me who was supporting. You don't understand anything. There is nothing of Tyler's among those things. I just want my own things back. Are you trying to get Tyler back with your clumsy excuses? If you really want to be with him that much, I don't mind if you come. I'll hire you and work you hard, so if you're okay with being a slave, I'll give you the new address. How much is this woman misunderstanding and getting carried away by herself? There is no point in arguing anymore, so I might as well hint at the truth soon. Then it's okay to divorce your unemployed husband. I'm busy with work, so you take care of him. You don't even know what happened to Tyler's company, you ignorant fool. Still putting on a brave front, you loser. Rachel seems to still be misunderstanding, but she will eventually realize the wrong choice she has made. I responded with a yeah, and hung up the phone. Anyway, I decided to divorce Tyler, who kept his unemployment a secret from me and even cheated. However, it looks disadvantageous for me to fight with Tyler and the others alone. So, I decided to ask for help from someone I can rely on, and I called my aunt. My aunt, though never married, has overcome numerous troubles with men and resolved other people's romantic disputes. She is really dependable in such times. I explained the situation in detail over the phone. Then, my aunt gave me some precise advice. If it's come to this, you have no choice but to divorce. But first, you need concrete evidence that Tyler cheated. It would be best to hire a detective agency to investigate. If you have a proper investigative report, it will be advantageous in claiming compensation. True to form, my aunt gave great advice. I immediately started taking action as suggested. Even though I said I needed evidence of the affair, I didn't know where they were living, so I hired a detective first. Then, their address was quickly identified. Thanks to the detailed surveillance, dozens of photos proving the affair were taken. Another shocking fact was also discovered. The detective who was tailing Rachel found her meeting not Tyler but other men. And not just one or two, but several wealthy-looking men. Evidence photos of these meetings were also perfectly captured. After all, Rachel was such a serious student back then. I wonder when she became such a woman with bad taste in men. It might have been since she started working. I shared these facts with my aunt. My aunt, who had cherished me since I was little, knew Rachel from our high school days. My aunt also wondered why Rachel had changed so much, puzzling over it. There might have been some trigger that caused this, perhaps getting involved with the wrong people. Prompted by her words, I remembered something. I heard that the company Rachel joined as a new graduate was a real toxic company. Maybe that company has something to do with it. I seem to remember her complaining about her boss too. She quit soon after, so I never heard the company name. My aunt nodded in understanding, showing a look as if she had figured something out from her years of life experience. I think I have a rough idea. Now that we have gathered evidence of her infidelity and misconduct, let's move on to the next plan. Together with my aunt, I stormed into Rachel's new home. Of course, without an appointment. Rachel and Tyler showed a look of surprise when I suddenly appeared. Denise. How did you find this place? Oh. Did you think I would just cry myself to sleep? I've had everything about your current situation investigated. I retorted with a smirk and scattered the photos taken by the detective in front of Rachel. Among them were pictures of Rachel and Tyler arm in arm leaving this house, and others showing them embracing intensely. No, that's not all. There are countless photos of Rachel leaving hotels with several unknown men. Seeing these photos, Tyler grabbed one and turned pale. What is this? Rachel, how many men have you been with? Was it a lie when you said you loved only me? Me. Misunderstanding. This must be some kind of mistake. Denise. Creating fake photos because you're mad at me is cheating. Rachel flustered, trying to attack me in desperation. The numerous photos vividly depict men and women getting along intimately. Does she think someone like me, not a professional, could create such composite photos? These were all taken by a detective I hired. I found out when I had him investigate, but apparently, since you started working, you've been targeting wealthy men for over 20 years. As I said this, Tyler glared at Rachel. Is that true? Don't tell me I'm one of them? I almost burst out laughing at that remark. After all, he's just an unemployed man now. Rachel was silent, unable to say anything, just staring at the ground. Seeing her like this, my aunt spoke up. It's hard to say anything in response to that, isn't it? The trigger for you to start fawning over wealthy men was a surprising person, Tyler. Right? Am I on the mark? Rachel looked shocked and about to say. Why do you know that? When a male voice was heard from the entrance. Is nobody here? Why suddenly call me to this place? The person who appeared was the father-in-law. In fact, I had sent him a message the night before. Tyler is having an affair, and we are going to discuss it. Please come to this place tomorrow. The father-in-law seemed indifferent about Tyler's infidelity. However, I had also told him that it might lead to a discussion of divorce and wanted him to be present. The father-in-law, checking the surroundings, was visibly surprised to see Rachel. Rachel. Why are you here? At the father-in-law's astonishment, Tyler looked puzzled. Dad, do you know Rachel? I don't know her. While he hastily shook his head trying to deny it, my aunt laughed through her nose and asked. Mr. President of Anderson Corporation, 20 years ago you divorced your wife because your relationship with a new female employee became known. Wasn't that woman here, Rachel? The father-in-law turned pale and kept shaking his head. However, Rachel, who had been silent until then, suddenly flashed a cunning smile. Yes. This man is my former boss, who toyed with me and then discarded me. I got fired because of him and struggled to find another job. That's why I wanted to somehow find a wealthy man and be happy. I see. So you were approaching several wealthy men, is that it? But what about Tyler? He is a married man and the husband of your close friend. What was the point of getting close to him? Indeed, that made sense. I had done nothing to earn Rachel's grudge. Then, Rachel responded to my aunt's question. When I heard Denise was getting married, I intended to attend the wedding because we were friends. But when I heard who she was marrying, it was the company that fired me. When I heard that, I wanted to get revenge on the president someday, so I decided to ruin Tyler's life, the heir. So, that's why you didn't come to the wedding. Learning the truth about Rachel left me with mixed feelings. Despite being angry, Rachel was struggling with a dark past. She continued to speak with a somber expression. Yes. And I was also jealous of Denise, who had made a wealthy and happy marriage without considering me. I wanted to destroy Tyler regardless of what happened to you. If a dark rumor spread about the president's heir, the company would be finished. I tried to make Rachel see that she was mistaken. Rachel. You didn't understand anything. You didn't need to do all this for nothing. This father and son were already at rock bottom without your intervention. Hearing this, Rachel, unaware of Tyler and his father's current situation, looked shocked and said, What? Then, looking at Tyler, I said with a look of disbelief. Tyler. You've managed to hide that you're unemployed so far. With no money, how have you been managing to live? Denise. You knew? That our company had gone bankrupt? My aunt and I almost burst out laughing at Tyler's surprise. It was all over the news, how could he not know? The only one who wouldn't know was Rachel, who had no interest in the news. Tyler, having lost his job, had become disconnected from all lifelines like the internet and TV and was unaware that his company was being talked about. Rachel, finally understanding the situation, was stunned. What? So what have I been doing all this time? As if in a daze, she then glared at Tyler. Tyler. Why didn't you tell me the company had gone under? Oh. That's why you were selling off the furniture I brought one after another? What? It turned out that Tyler had been selling off the furniture I had bought with my earnings. Some of that furniture was my favorite. Despite having taken others' belongings without remorse, Tyler brazenly said. I had no choice because I had no money. But I was surprised that Denise had bought such expensive furniture. What kind of job do you do to earn so much? Furious with Tyler, I finally vented about the work I had been doing. Since you stopped contributing to the living expenses, I've been working full-time at Harrington Trading, my aunt's company. I've been entrusted with responsible work and receive a proper salary. So, even without your financial support, I've had no trouble at all. Tyler was shocked to hear the name of the company my aunt managed. Harrington Trading? Isn't that one of the largest apparel manufacturers in this region? Harrington Trading was a company founded by my maternal grandfather. Since my mother, the eldest daughter, had married out, my aunt, the second daughter, had taken over. Harrington is my maternal surname, so it seemed he hadn't realized that it was my family's company. That's right. Someone called me a loser, but... I then shifted my gaze to Rachel and said more sternly. I became the executive director at Harrington Trading, considering my years of experience working in an apparel store, earning $3,000 a month. So for the past few years, I have been the one supporting our household finances. Rachel and Tyler remained silent, unable to respond. Then, the father-in-law looked at the aunt, seeming to want to say something. Speaking of Harrington Trading, there used to be business dealings with our company too. My father was well acquainted with the previous president. Yes. And 20 years ago, when you had just become the president, due to your womanizing issues, the previous president decided to cease all business with your company. It is certain that the loss of business with Harrington Trading was a factor in the downfall of the father-in-law's company, which had already been starting to falter at the time. Perhaps that's why the aunt had an inkling when she heard Rachel's story. The aunt had considered hiring the woman who was fired because of the president but decided against it after hearing of her repeated misconduct. Harrington Trading prioritizes the trust of its customers, so it was judged that someone who could cause problems was not suitable for the company. The father-in-law, looking somewhat apologetic, said to the aunt, I had no idea you were the successor of Harrington Trading. I am truly sorry for the trouble I caused back then. No. I knew that President Anderson would be coming to Denise's wedding, so I attended just as an aunt and kept the company's involvement hidden. Denise has a different last name, and I thought it wouldn't be noticed. Fortunately, you hardly remembered my face. The aunt turned her eyes away after saying this. There were no more business dealings, and she probably sensed that even familial relations would cease. Seeing the aunt's demeanor, the father-in-law did not try to continue the conversation. Now, it was my turn. While I felt a bit of sympathy for Rachel, who unwittingly stole Tyler and worried over nothing, I could not forgive her. Regardless of the circumstances, she had an affair with my husband and took our belongings without permission. Rachel. Regardless of the circumstances, I will be suing you and Tyler for damages for the affair. And you will also compensate for the household items. Rachel grimaced as if she had bitten into a bitter bug. I was deceived by Tyler too. Plus, it was Tyler who took the household items and sold them. So, it has nothing to do with me. In fact, I would like compensation from Tyler for deceiving me. What? I didn't mean to deceive anyone. I just found it hard to say that the company had gone under. Besides, you were the one using me to get back at my father. If anything, I was the one who was deceived. The two of them argued back and forth, each trying to blame the other. Seeing that the situation was getting out of hand, the aunt stepped between them. All right, that's enough of this ugly quarreling. Regardless of the reasons, what Rachel did clearly constitutes love theft. You both owe Denise compensation. And Tyler, since you took things without permission, you need to reimburse her for those items as well. It was like a mother settling a squabble between children. I was just getting steamrolled by their force, so I was truly grateful that my aunt was there. The two of them, now resigned, hung their heads as if about to cry. Damn. With such a strong ally as Denise, I can't compete. How am I supposed to pay when I'm unemployed? I don't have any money either. Though they lamented, it looked like we could finally settle things. I decided that Rachel and Tyler would pay the damages, and Tyler would reimburse me for the household items. Following that, my divorce from Tyler was finalized. We sold the house we lived in, and the proceeds were divided. For the time being, I would be staying with my aunt. Thank you, Aunt. I might not have been able to resolve this on my own. You've always been a reliable support since I was young. Oh, don't make me out to be some kind of superhero. I'm just a frail woman, after all. We laughed together, looking at each other. Finally, peaceful days had returned. As for Tyler post-divorce, he ended up living with his father. Even though he's his father, he seemed to be merely relying on him, claiming it was important to care for him. However, Tyler said he would support his father and tried to start a business. Unfortunately, things in life don't always go smoothly. His business failed, and they ended up in debt. This news was all over our company, and I heard about it. In fact, many former employees of his father's company now work at our company. That's how I got the updates on Tyler and his father's situation. As for Rachel, since she never held a steady job, she couldn't afford the rent for the apartment she intended to live in with Tyler and had to move back to her parents' house. However, her parents, who run a farm, scolded her for her years of frivolous behavior. They forced her to help with farm work, which she had always disliked. Under the watchful eyes of her parents, she couldn't escape. Moreover, her parents, aware of her poor history with men, forbade her from dating. They planned to arrange a marriage for her with someone who would take over the farm. I heard about Rachel's situation from my aunt. Her parents, well known in the area, had asked my aunt to find a suitable match for Rachel. My aunt, to spare her parents any further grief, kept it a secret that Rachel had tried to steal Tyler from me. Recently, my aunt decided to retire from her position as president and nominated me as her successor. She will step back from the daily operations but will continue to watch over me as the chairwoman. As I take over the company, I plan to further develop it. Despite my busy days and lack of a romantic life, I'm putting my energy into developing new lines of children's clothing. By interacting with our customers and their families, I aim to provide products that keep the children and their parents smiling. This is how I bridge my dreams through my work.